Hello everyone. I hope you're having a good morning. Today we have a workshop presented by Sophia on tick-borne diseases. As always, we will have our form in the chat at the end of the workshop presentation and at the end of questions for you guys to count your attendance. And Sophia, thank you for presenting. This is a very interesting presentation. So whenever you're ready, you may begin.
Thank you. So my topic is called tick-borne illnesses or diseases. First, we'll begin where ticks live. Ticks aren't actually insects, but they're classified in the arachnid family. They are
Sophia,
most common in America, but they do live elsewhere. They are especially prominent in southern states such as Virginia, Georgia, South Carolina.
Sophia, I think we're not able to see your screen, so
Oh, sorry.
it's okay, you're good. Yeah, I just enabled it for you.
Yeah, I shared screen.
Okay, yeah, we can see. Thank you.
So ticks live in these southern states like Virginia, Florida. They typically live in forests or areas where there are thick grass and brush because they require this humidity to survive. They do live on the West Coast, but they are more prominent in southeastern, northeastern states. An adult tick will be several millimeters approximately. The first part of the life cycle starts with the egg of a tick, which is usually laid in a forest or near a trail. So there are 4 stages. They will reach egg, larva, nymph, and they'll eventually go to the adult stage. Ticks need to have a host in order to suck on their blood in order to survive. They need a blood host so they can survive. They can usually detect a host by its own movements or breaths. Unlike other insects, it won't fly, but they will quietly climb onto a host. The pathogen or the disease is transported through the saliva. And in most cases, a tick bite can go unnoticed and won't necessarily raise the alarm of the host. But in certain cases, there can be an allergic reaction or pain near the area of the tick bite. Here are several diseases transported by a tick. One of them is Lyme disease. The bacteria is called Borrelia burgdorferi. It is transported by the deer tick. The Lyme disease is usually spread by a nymph because it will usually go unnoticed in the skin. To distinguish what the Lyme disease tick bite looks like, there's a distinct rash. And that can usually be a telltale sign. It will look like a bullseye, but it doesn't have to look like a bullseye. It can also look like other patterns. The thing with the Lyme disease is that it appears like the flu and other illnesses, which can make it hard to treat it. It is also why it is usually called the great imitator, because it can appear like the flu, the cold, arthritis, and other illnesses. But if left untreated, it can usually cause other chronic health issues. Another type is called Rocky Mountain Spotted Fever. This also includes flu-like symptoms. The Rocky Mountain Spotted Fever is spread by the Rickettsia rickettsii. It is spread by 2 ticks, which is called the American dog tick and the Rocky Mountain wood tick. There's also distinct rash that comes with this disease. It causes a spotty, dotty looking rash that will appear on your arms and legs. In the late stages of the disease, the rash will turn purple red, but the rash doesn't usually show up in the early stage. It will show up in the later stage. If it is also untreated, it will cause damage to your organs. Usually, most ticks do not spread disease as there are several hundred species across the world, but there are only around 3 to 4 species that will actually send a pathogen through a host. These are known as hard ticks and soft ticks. Hard ticks will usually, when they find a host, they will feed on the host for days, while soft ticks will usually feed for only a few hours. Soft ticks are known to produce more intense reactions to a bite. So if you're bitten by a soft tick, you may find a reaction, a rash, swelling near the site. And disease transmission doesn't take long. It usually occurs near the end of the feeding. Ticks also don't necessarily need to find a human host. They will find other animals like snakes, rats, mice. Now here's a new relatively common syndrome called Alphagal Syndrome, which is an allergy to red meat products. The species Lone Star tick will usually spread this disease and is most commonly found in southern states. However, this only applies to red meat. Some individuals can eat poultry and white meat, and they will not cause any reactions. For relatively reasons, when a tick bites, it gives off the alpha-gal molecule, and in certain individuals who are bitten, that can end up causing a reaction to red meat like steak. And in certain cases, the reaction can be quite severe, such as causing anaphylaxis. Some individuals may find that over time, the allergy will go away. But for now, the only treatment is just to avoid red meat, which causes the reaction. Now we will move on to another tick-borne illness. This is called Babesia microti, which is also spread by ticks. It is a relatively rare disease. It is transported by the Ixodes scapularis tick. And most people who get bitten by it, it will be asymptomatic, and you most likely will not feel anything. In mild cases, it will cause flu-like illnesses, but for individuals with a weak immune system, such as when you have a kidney transplant or you already have an underlying chronic illness, then it will cause issues. You can discover babesiosis, which is a type of bacteria, by looking under at a microscope, and in the blood smears, you will see the Babesia bacteria. If you discover a tick bite, you usually remove it with a pair of tweezers. You hold the tweezers close to your skin, then you pull up without shaking or without a violent movement. You should have even pressure when removing it, or then parts of the tick, such as the head or the body, can be stuck underneath the skin. If you see a tick, try to clean the area and remove it as soon as possible, because the longer the tick is hosting on your skin, this increases your chances of contracting a tick-borne illness. There are risk factors for contracting tick bites, and this is usually if you are a long day through hiker, long-term hiker, camping, a park ranger, people who live near grassy areas and who are in forest have higher risk for tick bites, especially in spring, summer, and even fall months. There are several preventions for the tick bites. One is when hiking in wooded and brush areas, you should wear long sleeves, long shirts, and long pants. You may also put insect repellent that contains DEET, as that is effective in getting rid of the ticks. There's a specific chemical which can also kill ticks, which is called permethrin. And when hiking, check off all your clothes to ensure that ticks are not laying on you. Especially if you own dogs or cats, you can also give them tick bite medication and prevention methods for your pets. This is especially more important for individuals who may be campers and who are hiking on trails that are several hundred miles, because you will have more contact with ticks there. Now we have treatment. It is better to start the treatment early, and most of the tick-borne illnesses will be treated with antibiotics. You can usually take a blood test to distinguish the tick-borne illnesses or a blood smear. Although it is important to note that it is relatively rare to still contract a tick-borne disease, as most tick bites, you don't need any treatment for them, except cleaning up the area. If you want to get checked out, you can visit a doctor who specializes in internal medicine, infectious disease, and doctors who are specifically known in treating these tick-borne and Lyme diseases. But there are also several signs to check and be wary of, just so you can catch the illness early. If you're sensitive or allergic to the tick bite, you can usually develop rash, swelling, numbness, redness near the site. There are several other symptoms to watch out for in the following hours and the days. These symptoms may be flu-like but will increasingly grow worse. Now, not all ticks are vectors for disease, but there are several which have been known in order to transmit it. This includes the Exotes tick, the deer tick, the Lone Star tick, the American dog tick, the African tick, the dog tick, and the wood tick. And for most of these, they will be hard or soft ticks, and they will have specific patterns on their backs to watch out for. And this signals what it looks like. And by looking at the pattern, you'll be able to distinguish what tick it is. If you want more information, there are images that tell you what each tick looks like in databases, and that will help you distinguish which ticks are more likely to transmit disease. But tick-borne illnesses are relatively underdiscovered area, and it is also hard to diagnose illnesses once they get into your body, because a lot of them appear like the flu and they are mild-like, so it is difficult for doctors to distinguish what exact illness you have. Usually the treatment for them is simple. If you are treated early, the illness will go away in less than a few weeks. But when the illness stays in your body, that is when it can cause more damage and harm to your body. Thank you for listening to this presentation. These are the resources that I used.
Thank you so much, Sophia, for presenting. I definitely learned a lot about tick-borne diseases. Initially, I thought that there was only one disease, but I didn't know there were so many. So thank you so much for presenting.
Thank you for having me.
Does anyone have any questions for either of us? I will put the attendance form in here. And yeah, if you guys have any questions for us, please let us know.